The situation that is going on between Tavis Smiley and Al Sharpton is something that I have been discussing for several months, ever since Barack Hussein Obama became President of the United States, and even before then. For those of you who don't know, Tavis Smiley, talk show host, and the Reverend Al Sharpton, founder and president of the National Action Network, are engaged in a fierce debate as to whether or not President Obama should have a black agenda. Tavis contends that President Obama has taken care of most of his constituencies in this country, that he has successfully advocated for homosexuals, the police, the unionists, Hispanics by giving them a Supreme Court justice, and other such body politics that make up what we call the United States electorate. On the flip side, the Reverend Al Sharpton says, and I quote, that President Obama doesn't need to boo-hoo a black agenda, end quote. I don't know exactly what Mr. Sharpton means by boo-hoo a black agenda, because by using those words, he's given the impression that anyone who tries to advocate for black people is somehow doing nothing but whining and complaining. So I don't like the choice of words that Reverend Sharpton used. If I had to choose a side in this debate, which includes more than just Tavis Smiley and Al Sharpton, we know that Michael Eric Dyson of Georgetown University supports Tavis's viewpoint, as does Dr. Cornel West of Princeton. And we know that Charles Ogletree and other black scholars tend to line up on the side of the Reverend Al Sharpton. But if I had to choose a side, not that I support any of these black elitists, but if I had to choose a side, I would probably be closer to the Tavis position, although I would differ strongly with Tavis on a lot of other things, to include why is his Black America Town Hall meeting being sponsored by white racist corporations. But that's another topic. But I agree with Tavis. I think that President Obama must have a black agenda. After all, black people are the only aspect of his constituency that voted for him blindly without meeting for him. No one gave President Obama the support like black people gave him. Black people came out totally for Obama. You did have a few naysayers, you did have a few detractors. I myself have no problem saying that I did not vote for the man. I did not vote for him because I did not think that he had any interest in improving the condition of life of black people. A position that has been proved largely correct. As you can see, he still hasn't mentioned black people. So I didn't vote for President Obama because I knew he wasn't going to do anything for us, nor did I think he had any care for us. I voted for the former Congresswoman from Atlanta, Cynthia McKinney, who was running for the Green Party. I did not think she would win the presidential race, but I voted for her out of confidence. It was a vote of confidence because I believe Cynthia McKinney, more than anyone else who ran for president, embodied what I think a leader needs to be. And so I think that Tavis is more correct. I think President Obama has to be president of all the people and not most of the people. A lot of Obama maniacs, especially Negroes who are Obama maniacs, tend to contend that we have no just claim to hold him accountable for our quality of life in this country. I take serious issue with that. Why can't black people hold the president accountable? Why is it that we have been able to complain and raise concerns about our condition to every president from Washington to Bush, but as soon as a half-black man occupies the White House, we're supposed to become silent on issues of the executive branch that affect black people? That is a contradiction. When I hear Al Sharpton say that we should not boo-hoo a black agenda, that is a contradiction. You are a civil rights leader. You claim to be a leader of black people. So how could you not continue to advocate for black people to the President of the United States? Why is it now that you can back off because the President is black? For those who don't know, the job of the president is to express the will of the people. Most people in America are white, so that means that the job of the president is to express the will of the white people. I think it would be safe to say that a good number of those white people are also racist. So that would mean that the goal of the president or his job is to expound upon the interests of white racists in America. Taken from a financial perspective, we know that the President of the United States, who was not chosen by the people, is one of the biggest lies that's ever been told in American history. The President of the United States is chosen by the Electoral College, which are largely chosen by big business. The President's job is to cater to the needs of the banking community. In other words, it is President Obama's job to look out for Morgan Stanley and Chase Manhattan and the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and the Federal Reserve. His job is not to look out for the people, but to look out for the financial interests. John D. Rockefeller once said that I care not who makes the laws if you give me control over the money. I care not who makes the laws if you give me control over the money. So America is enslaved to the financial interests that control it. President Obama is largely powerless to do anything economically for people in this country, but he can do things socially and politically, and that's why we need to hold him accountable. I think that we're making a big mistake by not asking this man to be accountable to a constituent group that gave him 125% and continues to back Obama to this very day. I think that President Obama's behavior toward black people is nothing short of treasonous. I think that he has totally and completely turned his back on us as a race. And I think, though, that we can't be but so upset with him because he never promised black people anything. See, most people, when they run for president of the United States, they try to offer a couple of concessions to keep the Negroes quiet. President Obama offered no such concessions. He never had a sit down with black people. And so at the end of the day, it is our fault that President Obama is ignoring us. Because until we stop voting and supporting people before we have a conversation with them, then the black vote and black people are going to continuously be taken for granted in this country. Not only by President Obama, but by any white or black person who holds an electoral office. So when he runs for re-election, I should hope that we have a conversation with him and not just run out there with our fists in the air voting for somebody who has no interest of ours at heart.